Alrighty, what is going on everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be doing a POI analysis on Rocky Reels. Now this is chapter 3 season 3, and hopefully Rocky doesn't change as much or I'll have to make an updated video. Now this part here is just going to be covering what's at Rocky, what loot, what spawns, just the basic stuff like that, and you can skip to the next section if you already know what's here. So first off, there are 27 chests. This is definitely a little less in comparison to other POIs. The floor loot, however, is 87. That means there are a lot of spawns for some really good weapons. And it also means you get a lot of ammo. Now, ammo boxes, there are 20 as well, and that is really good as well. Now, compared to all these build-ins, we just turn them on. The billboard here is the highest point. This is the highest point in this POI. It also has the most chests and the most floor spawns. So it has 5 chest spawns and 19 floor spawns throughout it. Now, it's the highest point, so that can mean a ton of stuff, but I'll cover kind of the strategies in another video. Now, in terms of vending machines, we have 2 vending machines over here. Now, it really doesn't, the only way these will actually impact the really early game is if it's like a green SMG or a green striker, and this one's kind of in the open, so you can watch and see if someone's built on it or whatever, but this one you can't really. Now, it doesn't really matter that much. It can kind of sway the fight, but they won't be able to buy anything that's blue because they just won't have enough gold for it. Now, the upgrade bench, that doesn't matter. Nothing else. Grapple gloves. These do kind of matter. They don't matter as much for actually fighting in Rocky, but for being unconned, they do actually matter. Now, if we look at the grapple gloves, like, who can take these? Like, who has the option to actually yoink these from Rocky? And that's really just the commie split. So they can, send one person here and then someone goes and like covers them and they grab the gloves and run away. They could do that, but I find that usually the commie split try to take these grapple gloves up here because it fits into their loot path a little bit better, because they're looting like this together. Then one person goes and checks them out and then runs back into the rest of the commie split. But they could come over and try to take these from you. So if you were unconned, what you could do, and this is a brief thing, is that you could send one person here, one person billboard, and this person rushes the gloves and see if they can yoink them really quickly. Now, moving on, nothing else really matters here. Rips, there aren't any slurp barrels. There are 4 slurp barrel spawns in here. And all this does mean is that if you land anywhere around here and you have, let's say you get minis, then one person gets to 150, other one gets 125, then you add 40 on both of those, and that's how much shield you can be at. Or if you get splashes, you guys splash together, and then you guys get to 180, or you guys both pop minis and you get to 190. Either way, you can save some shield by hitting these barrels here. It's also good to know that these are here in case you're double conned here for whatever reason, or you're conned by one, he hits you hard, you run and you hit these barrels, then you might be able to escape to this building where your teammate is, or whatever might happen. But it's good to know that these barrels are in here, and they're all stacked up against each other, so you can just place one cone and probably grab them all, I think. Now, noms, there are none. Clownberries, there are no natural spawns, but there are a bunch of coolers in the middle. Now, these coolers are pretty scary to hit, because in order to get to them, you kind of have to enter here, which I would consider as no man's land. Especially these 2 here. This one you might be able to grab if you build to it, because there are some rocks nearby that you can refarm. But these 2 out here are really in no man's land, because if you send one out here and there's a guy here and a guy here, then he's going to get sprayed from 2 different directions, and it's just not going to look good. Ice machines, there's one over here, which is, alright. If you land here and you pop this, you get a slurpfish, then you can quickly get to 180 super fast if you get a slurpfish out of that. Reboot vans is on this far right side, which does kind of promote, if you fight on this side really quickly, then you might be able to kill them and get the reboot off. But if there's a third team, then you're pretty much dead, because it's going to be a 2v1. And then, let's say you guys fight over here and it's a 2v2 and you wipe them both, but you lost a teammate. Now you have to make this whole trek across to hit this van, and if there's a team over here, you're definitely dead. But it doesn't, it's not that crazy, it's pretty close, so it doesn't even matter where the reboot van is, because in most cases, if you're rebooting here and there's a team here, they're going to get there in time before the reboot actually pops. And even if they didn't, they can just laser them out of the air, so it's irrelevant. Safes, there are some safes here, and then bounty boards as well, so there's one here. And that's really it in terms of what's actually at Rocky. There is an NPC here, Man Cake, and just a little 2 strategies. I think when you kill him, he drops, you have to duel him, and I think you get a blue auto and a blue ranger or something like that. Might be a blue SMG, which would be nice to duel him, but I'm not 100%. Something else you can do with them is that usually he walks around kind of here, and if you're on billboard, you can tag him and get him triggered and then hide, and then he'll actually, activate on the guys that are over here. So you can kind of get some information because Mancake will start keying them in here, and then you can kind of say, okay, we know they're in the left side of the building, and then you can use that to your advantage. Maybe Mancake even fucking sneaks up and knocks them or some crazy shit like that. Who knows? But you can't just cause some chaos over there by actually shooting Mancake and triggering the fight itself. So now we are going to be talking about landing that billboard, and your enemies, your con and your enemies land right over here or on this side, one of these two here. So yeah, I'll be right back with that. Alrighty, so we're back again, and in most cases I would recommend doubling up billboard here. This is you guys both aim to land at billboard. Now this can be good and bad. The good thing is that if these two enemies decide to contest billboard, and let's say you had player 1 land in here and player 2 landed over here, the chest spawns are actually polar opposites. So let's say player 1 lands first. He opens his chest, he gets a DMR or a shotgun. Like getting a shotgun on billboard is actually bad because player 2 or enemy 1, let's say he lands here and he gets a DMR, he gets a hammer, he gets an AUG, you're pretty much dead. I mean, you won't be able to kill them and you probably won't be able to run away, especially if he gets like an SMG and you get a shotgun or whatever might happen. It's not going to be in your favor because he has the long range and you have the short range. So I'd say it's recommend that you guys both try to contest the billboard, and then if you notice that the enemies are backing off, then you should try to claim this building over here. You guys both should initially aim to land there. So let's say that player 1 comes in, he drops, he lands on an AR. His very first instinct is that he should be looking for any tags on these guys over here that are dropping in. Especially if the bus route is something like this, where the billboard is like kind of like the first part of Rocky that the bus goes over. And if you land first and they haven't landed yet and they're dropping in on one of any of these buildings here, look for an easy like knock, tag, or whatever. Because let's say that enemy 1, you tag him, he's like, let's say he's minus let's say minus 60, so he's only 40 health. So what you could do is, first off, if you're enemy 2, he should land with his teammate in case they push, or just be in a power position and be watching in case we did try to rush over. But that's what I'm recommending, you will be rushing over. So I would say you guys both land billboard, or at least this guy gets just 1 to 2 weapons and he runs over, hits a few floor loot spawns, and you guys push this guy as soon as possible. This way, if you get this knocked, then this guy is going to be easy because it's a 2v1, and then boom, you win the fight. So even if you guys don't get the knock out of the, like, that's if you damage him. If you get the knock, I mean, you should 100% go for the finish, or at the very least calm out what knock. So let's say this is Bright Bomber, which is the first skin that pops in my mind. You can, okay, I knocked Bright Bomber, and the other skin is Travis Scott or some shit like that. You just calm that out of the air, but you land first and you immediately look up to see if you can get any tags on somebody here. Now if this was uncon, you'd also look up and see if you can get tags on anyone going Butterburn, or if the bus goes like this way, then you look for Kami Split or whatever. Mainly just Butterburn here, and you won't be able to take these guys. That's really it for where you can look at when you have to look up. You could maybe even like look maybe at the Chonkers team, because they will be kind of flying over and aiming for like a drop around here to get onto Chonkers. So I guess you could take the Chonkers team if the bus route went like this. But back to player 1. So player 1 lands in here, he hits all the floor spawns, and his job is to loot billboard. That's it. He's to loot billboard. While player's 2 job, if you guys aren't contested at billboard, is we'd actually take him, let's just edit this and fly him over. He would land right here. Now the good thing is that player 1, whoever's landing on billboard, should have the best long range, or like medium to long range aim. So maybe your keyboard and mouse player, or if your controller is fucking cracked, that's fine, because he's just going to be farming up here, and he's going to be sitting up here, and his job is to watch to see if these guys try to flank in, or if this guy tries to move to his teammate or whatever, because either way these 2 guys will have to group up at some point. And if you're able to land some fucking hard shots on them just to deplete their shield even more, then you just, like, it just gives you that much more of an advantage. So player 2's job, he's just going to loot this up. Now if he has good loot just from this building itself, he can actually start sneaking early. So what he can do is start, going around like this. If you actually get yourself on this rock over here, so let me move over. If player 2 actually gets on this rock over here and gets based up here, he actually has a disgusting angle, especially if he's hiding. Like if he goes all the way around and doesn't trigger visual audio, let's say enemy 2 here. Let's say enemy 2 is like, okay, enemy 1's going to come to me, so I'm going to base up here or here. And just watch billboard to see if anyone tries to sneak around like this. Meanwhile, player 2 is already all the way over here, based up. You guys time it, you guys absolutely incinerate this guy. Player 1 comes down to push, and you guys push, and you guys key this guy and either kill him, or while he's healing, you go for the other enemy, or whatever, your guys' fight is when one enemy is knocked. Now, if your loot isn't good enough in your player 2 from here, then you will probably have to hit here and hit here. Now this will give you a bit more loot, but the downside is that if you have to build on your way over to block shots, that means that the two enemies know that you're over here, and especially if they see someone still on billboard, then they can say, okay, well, we might be able to sneak around and see if we can collapse on them really quickly before billboard actually has the chance to rotate over. So that could be a kind of a downfall if you land here and they're able to pinch you. Now this teammate shouldn't be able to run all the way over. So let's just say something like this is something that's really common that happens. The enemy 2 sees that you're rotating like this, you guys are fighting, and then this guy tries to haul ass straight across and player 1 cracks him. What that might mean is that this guy, then you start pushing, and then this guy thinks, okay, do we take our ones here, or do I back off and maybe help out my teammate? And then this gives time for your teammate to heal, and you guys are kind of even again in the fight if player 1 doesn't get 2v1 and die really fast here, because then it's fucked. Okay, now let's say enemy 1 here rotates over here, and you guys have decided that you're going to push the left side. So let's say he hits this and he has enough loot and he loops all the way around like this, and he's working his way over here. Now what's probably going to happen is that they're going to wait until player 2 is somewhere within this area, and they're going to start fucking frying them or laying into him, shooting the wall, doing whatever. And it's going to hurt because you won't have that much materials. You will have a fair amount, but you won't have that much. And all player 1 has to do is that he has to fry one of them. He has to absolutely incinerate one of them that are sitting there holding them. That way, let's say he fries enemy 2. He's at 10 health. Enemy 2 needs to heal 100%. Enemy 2 can either stay up there and try to heal here, and then player 2 can start pushing, and then, you know, player 1 can start going down. Now we have a 2v1 here, or enemy 1 goes and box up with enemy 2, and then you can push that. Either way, it's going to be a 2v1, and if enemy 1 does fight, it may have a 2v2. It's not really, because he only has like 10 HP. That is an option. Now, if you're working over like this and your boy gets absolutely incinerated, you need to cover this. You need to cover and shoot at these guys, crack them, get them off your boy, so he can either run back or he keeps going like that if he doesn't get fried. Either way, being stuck here is like a fucking crazy way to die, and you'll end up dying a lot if you try to do this push and you're stuck here. Let's say it's flipped and enemy 2 is kind of over here and enemy 1 is like still here, kind of holding this. This is really good for you, because even if player 2 gets cracked, if you're able to crack enemy 1, you should be able to, you know, rotate your ramp, slide down here, and push this guy faster than enemy 2 can get there. Dive into his box, do whatever you got to do. Just try to kill this guy as soon as possible. Then when he shows up, you guys just jump him, 2v1, boom, you win. Very nice. Now what you could do is just kind of bait actually the push out from player 2, so you don't commit and go all the way out here. You just kind of run out a bit and build like a little bit, and that's all you're trying to do is gather information. So if both of these guys peek on where they're at, then hopefully player 1 can go for a beam. If you crack this guy and he has to heal, that's good. That means you can push enemy 1 and enemy 2 won't be able to get there in time. Oh, I forgot to put my pop filter on. Whoops. But enemy 1 won't or enemy 2 won't actually be able to get there in time, because he has to heal. So either he doesn't heal and he pushes over low and maybe you crack him on his way over, or he heals and then you have a 2v1 over here. Remember, the whole point of duos is to find a way to isolate your enemy and win the fight. You have to isolate one of them, have a 2v1, that's easy, you win, boom. Now we've talked about kind of sneaking around this way. If you send player 2 all the way around, he gets on this mountain. Let's say enemy 1's over here too, you crack one of them, you key that one, you're good to go. Player 1 won't have as much loot as player 2 because he won't be running around as much. So maybe you try to find what the fast materials are over here, and then you give him some mats so he's kind of chilling. Give him AR ammo, AUG, like whatever he needs up here. He's just kind of like the watcher. Now, if you end up getting like a knock out of the air, we talked about that, where both of them would push over like this, or whatever would happen. But that's really it in terms of owning billboard and kind of how to play off of billboard. Now, if it was going to kind of flip, so let's say that you're an enemy and you guys do something like this, you really have to think about how you want to actually advance on this billboard team. So if they're together like this, what's really like scary is crossing in between. So if enemy 2 wants to go to enemy 1, which is probably the play because there's more loot over here than over here, then he has to get covered by enemy 1. Because if he's just running the open, enemy 1's like back here at RVs looting up, then he gets cracked, then you're fucked. That's it. You're going to be too far to help. You might be able to assist a bit and crack them when they're on their way over, but it's just going to be pretty shambles. So he has to watch these guys up here and go for any tags on them while this guy is rotating and building. Please, for the love of God, build when you're in the open. Then when you get together, you can hit the barrels if you got tagged, or loot up, or do whatever. But how you would actually push billboard is kind of difficult, and that's why billboard is so strong. It's because that if you guys go like this, and you guys go together, and player 1's on top, and let's say player 2's on the back over here, now you're going to get cracked from 2 different angles. You have to cover your top because player 1's going to be shooting, and you have to cover your side, and player 2 are able to kind of sneak around any part here and just absolutely tag you. So that wouldn't be the best place to push from, because you can just get fucking tagged from 2 different sides. Pushing straight across is fucking psychotic, especially if you don't know where player 2 is. Is that how you spell enemy, or might fucking... Wait. Enemies. Okay, it is. Some reason, because I'm just looking at it, it just doesn't look like that's how you spell it. Now I'm honestly concerned, so I'm going to open a new window, slide that over here, and make sure that's how you spell it. Okay, it is. Wait. Whew, sorry, brain fart there, but I also kind of just had a crisis because I thought that's not how you spell enemy. But it is. Okay, if you do this in the middle, you're crazy. Like, especially if you don't know where this guy is, let's say player 2's over here. Now you're going to get fucking pressured from 2 sides, and you're basically dead, especially if you don't have any materials. You're dead. So I'd say if you're pushing billboard, the best bet is probably to get to this spot here. This way, because if you guys both get here, it is pretty closer in terms of actually rotating from here to here, to here and here. So you can have an easier rotate to push on the billboard, and it's just a little bit more safer the whole route to get over. The worst part would be this guy having to go to here. Then by the time you're here, you can just build like 1 or 2 walls. Then again, you have to cross all of this, which is again a little scary, but you could go all the way around if you want to, but that's going to waste time. So the best bet would be just to build over, get to here, and work your way all the way over here. While if you were these guys and these guys are doing this, then you would want to tag them the whole way. That way, if they are pushing you, you've already cracked them twice or 3 times or whatever, and you know, okay, they're going to be low as shit. So that's what you would do if you're on the billboard and they are pushing you. Obviously, this is already looted because player 2 has already hit all that while he was rotating over, all that, blah, blah, blah. Now, when they're actually pushing you, you want to get player 2 up a bit, maybe on this ledge or somewhere. He doesn't want to be down low because that's where enemy 1 and enemy 2 can actually get in and fight him, because there's a lot of angles here. You can come in through the back here or any of these sides here, and the front is kind of open. Player 2 has to get close to player 1, and the whole point is that you try to isolate them. If you crack enemy 1, enemy 2 might keep going, and then like, oh shit, he's cracked, you box him, you kill him, whatever. This is just a 2v2 box fight basically here. And it's also knowing where you can and can't build and where you can kind of sneak around, because there are some railings inside here that you have to place a cone on, not a floor. So you can use that to your advantage and place a cone or whatever and hop in or whatever. But yeah, that covers kind of the fighting habits, and where I would recommend is, again, billboard to land at rather than any of the other buildings. So the next segment, which we'll be talking about kind of like some surge locations, what do you have to watch out for. So it's kind of stuff outside of the POI. So yeah, I'll be right back with that. Alrighty, so here we are at the final section. This is just a nice little unconned loot route. As you can see here, we both aim on billboard. We know this, and that's the yellow means you both aim there, and I'm talking about the purple at the end. So what I think would be best for unconned is that someone has to hit the middle. So I think this guy does all this, and then player 2 lands on the far side, and his whole purpose is to also check these gloves. If he can get these gloves early and combi split isn't going to key over, then you can kind of guarantee, okay, you either take all 3 of them if you have the space, or you take 2 and you just bring them back, and then you guarantee that you have the gloves here. What might happen is that, let's say you don't do this and you do this whole loop path, and then you guys go here together and they're gone. Combi split took them. That might happen. Now I don't think it will happen, because the combi split does kind of loot up like this, and they'll probably hit over the gloves that are right here, I think, but they still might end up taking them. So just be wary of that. So send this guy over to get this, even, or like as soon as he drops, grab a gun or grab like 40 builds and run over, and hopefully, and if I'll be shocked if combi split, if they push over that early, then you should be on height and be able to 3-2-1 or laser 1, because they're going to be low, and you're good basically. Come back, and then you would do your loop path, hit the RVs, blah blah blah, and then you guys would probably both need to go together to get more metal over here if you have the time. That's just because there isn't actually a lot of metal in Rocky. So if you want to both get capped, you will probably have to come over here to get the extra metal. Now that will delay your loot, your kind of surge routes as well. So if you think you can get to here before anyone else, there is metal here, which you probably won't get 5-5. You might be like 4-4 or 5-4 or something like that, which is fine. But this is actually a really good surge spot here, right on this tilted hill. You 100% probably will not get this hill, because usually tilted gets this, or the combi split tries to get it early, or even we're scented in cold land. What is that, like the glow, like south glow or whatever, try to claim this hill. So that's a really contested hill, and you probably won't get that. This is a good search spot to base up on and tag all the teams that want to go through tilted, or any of the teams that want to rotate through here, any of the teams that are trying to rotate through there. You kind of have the pickings on who you want to tag and everything like that. Now, other search spots is that if zone does pull more south, then actually claiming either the billboard or some of these rocks around here. I didn't mark them all because a lot of them are like good as well, and it would just be too much on the map. But you can sit here and get tags on people, especially if it's like a really south zone. Like if it's like that's probably gonna be too south. Just do something really rough. Like, is that big enough? Yeah, whatever. I'd say that's it, because we know it's gonna keep pulling south. So all these teams are gonna have to rotate in, and then if you sit somewhere, especially on billboard, then you can tag all the teams that have to. If they see you based up on billboard, they're gonna be like fuck, and they're gonna be funneled around like this. You can just keep tagging them when they're coming in. There might even be fights here or whatever might happen. The billboard is a good option on somewhere to base up at. Now, if zone pulls farther, like over here, so let's say zone pulls something like this, what you could do is kind of rotate late and late and either get commie split. I guess the gas station wouldn't be that good in this zone because you really are on edge and you don't have any forms are rotated. Let's say maybe what's something that's a little nicer for the gas station. Maybe something like this would be kind of nicer for the gas station, because usually the commie split, you would have to kind of fuck around with the timings and see really what else. You wouldn't be able to get this extra metal here. Hopefully there's some metal left at the gas station, but usually they kind of rotate, or they kind of loot up like this, and they meet up here and go back down or wherever they want to rotate to. Is usually what they do. So if you're able to take gas station while they're both going up, like let's say they meet up here at this fucking racetrack, if you're already on gas station when they're coming back, easy 3 2 1, boom, you're chilling. But this could be a good spot to go, and you can get it if the commie gas station people have already left. Now onto the red parts we have here. So this butter barn is actually a really easy 3 2 1 that you can do or sneak up on, because it is so close. So you can either A, loop all the way around like this and enter from this side, which they 100% will not be expected to be pushed from over here, because who's going to push them? What, Greasy? There's no cars, so they can't car over and key. Like, they aren't expected to be pushed from this side at all, unless they are expecting the Synapse station team to rift on them. So that's something that could happen, is that if you key them, this fight is going long, the Synapse station might come in third party, then you guys are all fucked. But so you can key butter barn if you want to, especially if they're split. Like if we have 1-1 and let's say you're running in and you 3 2 1 this guy, he's cracked. If you get close, like on top of him, and you see his teammate far away, one person shoots this guy to hold him back a bit, and then you guys both dive into this guy's box, you kill him, boom, you're win, done. Now another thing is that you do have to be careful of the early W key from commie split. This can happen, especially if it is kind of like mid tournament or late, like especially end of the tournament. This team can key over. It was scary when there was the henchman in the IO, because Rocky Reels like loot was way better last season, and it was a little bit more scary for them to key over. But now it's like, okay, like they can still key over and they can kill you. So that's why you kind of want to keep your loot route where you guys are kind of together most of the time, and you're not actually that far. And when this guy actually goes up to loot RVs, he should be watching to see if he can see these guys. If you see them on the way over, then you can call this guy over and you guys can 3 2 1 them and surprise them. So that's kind of the point. But if they notice Rocky's commie split might come over and just try to third party this, especially if there's like 3 to 4 teams. So that's just something to be aware of. Alrighty, so hopefully I've covered everything. In the description will be a drop map. It will link you to a server. This server is completely free. I'm never going to monetize it. I'll put this loot route here in the server as well if you want to use this. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you like this style and what POI you want next. First person that comments gets it. But yeah, cheers.